Could you, Mr. Locke?
Thank you, Representative Washington. We have, as your agenda reflects, a number of individuals who were consumers of the Tamms Correctional Center programs. And we also have one witness who must leave for work reasons. And I'm going to ask that she come and address you very briefly. All of these witnesses are going to be limited to no more than 5 minutes, absolute maximum. And our first witness will be Ms. Denise Berry, who is the wife of Reginald Berry, who will also address you later.
Good morning. My name is Denise Berry. I am the wife of Reginald Berry right here. I am a graduate of the University of Illinois in 1984 with a bachelor's degree in accounting. I currently work for the Illinois Department of Revenue for the last 15 years as a resident Revenue Auditor 3. I own property in the city of Chicago. I'm a registered voter. I just want to talk about what I experienced visiting Reginald for the last 8 years, back and forth from Tamms. I can recall numerous occasions where, as a wife visiting my husband, it was just very, very difficult during the course of the visit with our sons to even visit there. But I just want to briefly just talk about the one time that I visited him at Tamms, and a husband and a wife were correctional officers working together in the visiting room. And this particular time, we had a 4-hour visit, and Warden Hensley had already stated if you have a 4-hour visit, all the correctional officers at the facility, they know that an inmate is allowed a restroom break. So if this is our visiting room and this is the glass and Reginald is behind the glass, he can knock on the window and a correctional officer can come and take him like just 3 feet away. It would be a restroom for the inmates on their side. Well, this one particular day visiting Reginald, the correctional officer, Sherrod, and her husband was back there. She was reading a novel, and when we knocked, she just ignored us. Her husband had his feet cocked up. He was flipping a pencil and just looking at the computer, nodding on and off. We knocked and knocked and knocked. Finally, for around an hour and 45 minutes, this went on. Finally, Reginald said, Denise, can you step out for 5 minutes back to the main visiting area? Would you sign in at Tamms? And I did. When I arrived back into the room, he had relief on his face, and I'm like, oh, wow, they finally let you, they finally took you to the restroom? He was like, no. I pulled off my socks with the handcuffs. I played with it. I put one sock inside the other, and I urinated. And he said, I'm like, won't it seep through? And he was like, no. He said, if they see it on the floor, they're going to write me a ticket. So I was just furious. I was just outdone. I mean, so I called Warden Hensley the next day, and he told me, Mrs. Berry, sometimes I don't know who needs to be locked up here, the correctional officers or the inmates. Sometimes I just wonder. And I want this on the record. He told me that numerous times throughout Reginald's 8-year visit about the problems himself he had encountered. Another thing that happened when I visited Reggie for 8 years, me and his father, Reverend Berry, and his nephew, who was in the military serving in the war, was home for a visit, and he wanted to visit his uncle. And upon arriving at Tamms, we were searched. We did not know that my nephew, who I normally drive my car, but my nephew insisted that he drive the car and give me a break, because I always take the 6.5-hour drive. So he was like, Auntie, just take a break, let me put some wear and tear on my car. Unknowingly, his wife had used the car the day before and left a butter knife in there because she was peeling her apple, and they found the butter knife. They treated us like criminals. They escorted us off the property. Me, Reverend Berry, my nephew, we were denied visit for 6 months. So that was just really, really hard. We kept writing the IDOC asking, it was an oversight, it wasn't intentional. Can you please look and see that I've been visiting my husband for 7 years? I haven't had any problems. And, still it was a 6-year visit restriction, for 6 months visit restriction for all 3 of us. There's been times when I visited Reginald that it was just, upon just waiting for him to, sometimes they put the family members in the room before the inmate gets escorted there by the officers. And sometimes I'll just be in there waiting on him to come into the visiting room. And sometimes it would take sometimes 15 20 minutes before he can even speak. You know, that wasn't every visit, but, you know, several times throughout the 8 years, and I'm like, what's wrong, what's wrong? You know, it's such a spirit of hopelessness. He would just drop his head with tears falling down his eyes saying, I'm just tired. Nobody knows what we go through here. Nobody knows how humiliating it is, you know, just to get ready for a visit with you. I mean, you know, they send me a letter telling me you're visiting, and then they come to my cell without, you know, they change the rules without us noticing, without informing us inmates, and they, you know, they tell me at the last minute, if you know, you got 5 minutes, Barry, for us to take you to the visiting room, get those French braids out your hair. Well, he's always visited with French braids, but they changed the rules, the correctional officers, at the last minute. So at the last minute, they just upset inmates. You know, they just come with all these new rules at the last minute on the way to the visiting room. And so, you know, it's just such a spirit of hopelessness on these inmates' faces as you visit there. Just knowing that they never see no daytime, they never see no nighttime, you know, they can't smell air, etc. But the last thing I just want to talk about is that we have documentation here today that Reginald is going to pass around with the IDOC printout stating that they were only supposed to be sent there for a minimum of 1 year and reviewed quarterly for transfer out, and each one of you on the committee will get a copy. Thank you.
Thank you.